Hello, Bethany George, Follow Up Boss. I wanted to talk to you about some of the worst sales advice that I have ever gotten. Now, I have asked some others about what other advice they have gotten, and they've shared some examples, and I've heard a lot of the same things. For those of us that are heart-centered, we get it. We understand that some advice that we've been given just doesn't make sense for us. And I wanted to share with you what my top three were, the reason why I find it as bad advice, but also and all of those is a kernel of truth. So I want to talk about that kernel of truth as well as why doesn't it work. So I'm going to start with you with number three. Number three is it's all about the numbers. But is it? In sales, a lot of times we'll hear this. It's all about the numbers. How many people are you calling? How many people are you reaching out to? How many people are you talking to? How many people are you pitching? If you don't have the sales, you aren't doing enough of them. Obviously, there is truth in this. If you aren't doing the right kind of marketing, if you aren't speaking to the right kind of people, then you aren't going to get the kind of sales, you aren't going to have the number of clients that you want. Yes, there's truth in this, but why is this terrible advice? When we focus only on numbers, we completely remove the humanity of the people that we are talking to. As we are seeking leads in our business, if we're looking merely to meet a certain number, or we're not even trying to meet them, perhaps we're just trying to dump them into a funnel, we are starting to see them only as a number. When we focus on the numbers purely, we see them only as numbers. This is very dangerous, and it can take us down a path where we are not listening to the people that we are talking to. We are not listening to see if it's the right match for us, that we are a right match for them, and that everything fits. And so we can end up with people in our business that we don't want. We can end up with people in our business that don't really want to be there, and that can backfire. They may not pay us. They may resist us. There can be resentment. And many of the poor sales advice can lead to these same issues. When we push for the wrong things with the wrong reason, we will create bad situations. When we stay focused on the right things for the right reasons with the right heart involved, then we can get the right kind of people into our business. Number two, go for no. How many of you have read the book? I had a rant about this a couple months ago because of what it can mean. And again, the kernel of truth here is when you are making asks, when you are making sure that you aren't just getting to know somebody and becoming friends and then inevitably getting what I call friend zoned, when that's not happening, when we're very intentional about speaking about our business, about talking to people and making an ask and making the offer and that sort of thing, then inevitably we'll get no's. And that is a good thing, to understand and respect the no. And it also can challenge us. It's always good to be challenged, to step outside of our comfort zone. But the problem is, for the concept of go for no, is that with every lead, every prospect, every contact, we should be pushing until we get to a no. And in the book, Go for No, that's really the idea, that you are pushing forward until you've reached a no. And that's the hard line. But the problem with that is that a lot of people in the world and in our prospect circles are likely going to be people that aren't comfortable with no. We kind of live in a society where there's a feeling of not being rude and making sure you're polite and you're not making people uncomfortable. Asking for no makes people uncomfortable. Not that it's even if we know we have something that's right for them, and we may push them into something thinking with all the best intentions that we want to give them what they need. The issue with this is that we are pushing someone before they're comfortable and before they're ready, and they may not have the inner strength or the inner personal work to say no when they should be. What this creates is a situation of resentment and discomfort, and what you have is people, again, in your business that don't want to be there, weren't ready for you, and they won't do the work in that case as well. If it's, especially in a service-based business, If you push someone into your business before they're ready, they won't be ready to do the work and they won't get the results that you want them to get. So we don't want to push someone into a no, and we don't want to push someone until they say no. Because again, you might not always get a no. You need to listen to the person, listen for the cues, and listen for the yes, the enthusiastic yes. That is what you want, an enthusiastic yes. And then if you really want to challenge yourself, like they said yes to this, what if? You can ask them, by the way, I have this other thing as well. Would you like to add that on? That's not an enthusiastic yes. You've gotten your no. So that's where, go for the no. With some modifications, it could be a good thing, but in its pure form, it is often detrimental. Lastly, let's talk about my worst sales advice. When I kind of went through like all the ones that I've gotten over the years, what is the one thing that I find is the worst advice in its purest form? And that would be, and it's not as pure cut as like go for no, but it would be talk to, meaning pitch, every single person you connect with or talk to. And this is most common in like direct selling companies. And I've been in quite a few, so I've heard this quite a few times, and I've been taught many different forms of this. And this concept is everybody you know, anybody you know, anywhere you know them from, anytime you meet somebody, you need to tell them about your business. The kernel of truth of this is that we need to make sure we're telling people about what we do and that people understand what we do. And usually the example given for those who teach this concept, they're trying to say, if people don't know what you do, they can't buy into it. If you provide an important service, what if they don't know and XYZ bad thing happens because they didn't have this available to them, because they didn't know that you did it? Truth. And there should always be a way in which you present this information. And the negative, the worst case scenario with this, which is oftentimes what happens, especially when you're new in business and you're learning how to do this, is that you literally see every single person as a prospect. You don't see them as the person that they are. You don't give them a chance to warm up to you. You don't build that relationship. Every one of us who complains about getting pitched in our messages before someone's got to know us, it is based on this concept. It is based on this wrong teaching. It is not about talking to every single person that you meet or come across or connect with. What you need to do is build a relationship first and feel somebody out and find out when they're ready. Now, if you provide one of those services, and I'm going to give just an example for us to understand, I know a number of people that provide legal services. Now, this is something that for many of us, when it comes time for a need, or let's say identity theft, right? When those things happen, we need it in the moment, or we needed that protection yesterday, right? And then we might say, well, I provide that kind of important, a critical service. I need to make sure everybody knows. There's a way in which you can present that to people in a kind, loving, open way that says, I'm not sure if you know what I do, but this is what I offer. If this is something you ever think you would be open to discussing and learning more about, please know you can reach out to me, that I'm available. And what you do is you put a hand out saying, if you're interested, take my hand. It's not saying, here, take this. You need to have this. Do you feel the energy difference? So it's critically important that we understand that all sales techniques have a good side and a bad side. And that negative side, maybe that thing that makes you cringe or makes you feel salesy, I call that toxic sales. Get out of toxic sales and get into authentic, heart-centered, relationship-building sales. That is where you want to live. That is where you want to be. There's a way in which we can do it so that it makes sense, that people get what they need. You can share your business and you can connect for real. If any of this makes sense with you, I'd love for you to comment below and share some of your own examples of this. And if this is something that really resonates with you, where you're like, I know that I operate under that toxic sales mentality, or I've been taught those and I don't know the right way of doing it, and you want some advice, you want to see if there's some things you can do to shift in your business, reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation and see what is something that we can shift in your business to make a difference today for you. Have a great one.